Conflict. Chapter 10. Welcome to the Para-Humans online message boards. You are currently logged in, the Forbidden Gift. Topic, a new thread. In, boards Muurdnag takes over South Africa. Aries missing in action. Bagrat, original poster, the guy in the know, veteran member. Posted on, April 15, 2011. In a very horrific turn of events, the strongest warlord of Africa, Muurdnag has taken over South Africa in a very short but bloody battle that costs hundreds of thousands of lives. Yesterday was the day she solidified her rule and now has direct control over Namibia, Angola, Botswana, and South Africa, but is also the commander of many other warlords in the continent, making her the ruler of almost the entire continent. While all this was happening, people realized that they have been unable to spot Aries for the last 3 days, anywhere on Earth. This made people question exactly where he went, leaving the fate to Africa in hands of someone as bloodthirsty as Muurdnag, and still hasn't taken any action. There has not been much that the various government of world have said in response to this brutal act, making us believe that there won't be any intervention from the rest of the world. Just where are you, Aries? All links can be found here. Just Arundum Nui Orker, veteran member, Cape Groupie. Replied on, April 15, 2011. Maybe he is down due to some personal issues? I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Please just help out those poor people. Divide. Replied on, April 15, 2011. The man was always a little suspicious if you ask me. A lot of people forget that he was just testing his powers there, not really helping them. Now that he's bored of it, he's gone. Antigone, Cape Groupie. Replied on, April 15, 2011. That was just a theory, it was never confirmed, so stop saying that every time you guys wanna hate on him. He has life too, you know. Maybe something happened that really called for his attention. He'll be back. Unnamed location, Mars. Pandora did not like the reactions she was reading online. In fear and desperation, Muurdnag killed so many people to nurse the growth of her power that there were almost no prisoners of war taken once the battle reached its end. The people noticed the lack of Atru's presence on Earth and have not taken it kindly. Atrus himself was making some changes to a suit of armor made from nanites that look like his casual clothes. He has been making since the past few days. He's done nothing other than work on his suit, spar his constructs and meditate for the last 3 days. Atrus, she's killed and fed nearly 4,000 people to her power by now. Please go back to Earth and intervene. Not only has she been joined by the Yang Ban, but also the Red Gauntlet of Russia, a squad of Elitnaya Armia of the Russian government, volunteers from the Dino of Russian underground, and quite a few C-53s from Cauldron. They have a total of 107 para-humans gathered to fight and kill you. Is this not enough? She implored him. Atrus has been growing detached from the events of Earthbet in a very concerning way. He seems to think that he could simply sit back and wait for the entities and the Endbringers to come out and then have a good battle and kill them all, completely ignoring the amount of changes his presence has brought to this world. Those charges he put in psychology have been warping his mind. He feels that what he does is correct because he's the one judging his own actions. She needs to put an end to this before he's too far gone. I suppose things have gotten bad, haven't they? Still, 107 should be able to give me something of a challenge. I'm done with the suit anyways, so I'll give it a test when I'm down there. See you in a bit, Pandora. He waved her goodbye as began flying back to Earth. His lack of contact with other humans is another thing she needs to work with him. During the mind meld, she got glimpses of his life before he came here. He was extremely introverted and always tried to do things on his own. He only bothered talking to people because he needed to be a part of the society to live. With his abilities, he doesn't even require that anymore. He thinks his time is better spent inside caves and on dead planets rather than amongst other humans. She need to do something to fix his mind and do it fast, but also very carefully. He is somebody who can wipe out the planet before the entity will get a chance if he snaps. Now she just needs to find a way to convey all this to him. Prieska, South Africa. In a large building stood the strongest coalition of para-humans Earthbet had ever seen. Muirdnag sat on a throne looking ecstatic with how the battle went. To add to her happiness, she had 4 more groups who joined her to put the monster down. Truly the day was turning out to be very good. Her partner unfortunately could not join her indoors anymore with his sheer size. Ozdir was now 25 feet in height and nearly 50 feet in length. He was still gazing inside the building, keeping a watch on everyone's movements. Now that she had crushed South Africa, it was time to kill the monster. With Ozdir's current strength, she felt now take on an Endbringer and come out on top. Now that your conquest is done, all we have to do is bait our target to come out of his hiding and kill him in battle, stated Rukavitsa, leader of the Red Gauntlet, looking over the plans they made for trapping Ares. Since we have lifted the communications ban and Her Highness's actions have been made public, it is only a matter of time before he comes here. Although his absence during the past few days is surprising, it was not unwelcome. We all even managed to gather here before the 1-week timeline, so we are prepared to take him on when he appears, spoke number 3 of the Yang Ban. Although his face couldn't been seen due to the mask, his voice was calm, like the one before a storm. Yay, let wait, we've got more than enough firepower here to blow his ass up. Unless he's too much of a pussy to show up here, called out Tatiana, leader of the volunteers from the Dino of the Russian underground, lounging on her seat looking carefree like a teenager, but her eyes had the look of a cold-blooded killer. He'll be here, declared Captain Mikhail of the Ilytnaya Armia squad. He's not what he seems like. This Ares, what do you mean? Asked Rukavitsa, who had known Mikhail from a long time. He's battled with him and against him to know that he doesn't say such things lightly. That man is not some paragon of good, he's a thrill seeker and battle lover, Mikhail says as everyone gets serious and pays attention. In his fight against the blasphemies, he showed that he could turn his presence into null and uncover disguises of others. When he saved Brockton Bay, he rescued people from within buildings and other structures without missing a single person. He already knows that we are here and was waiting for us to gather up, probably for a good fight, he stated as the other mulled over his words silently. So you came to the same conclusion as me, as expected of you, Captain. You truly are a veteran of many battles, said Jake McCarthy, the mysterious agent of an organization who was willing to lend them monsters for this battle. He gave off a very fake aura, that screamed of subterfuge and assassinations. The only reason he was accepted was because of the recommendations of both the Red Gauntlet and the Dino, who stated that they had received their help before and were good for their word. The popular theory, and one that I think is true about his healing, is that she's simply practicing his abilities. He had the raw power required to smash like a hammer but not the scalpel, so he simply took advantage of the lack of governments in Africa and started here, simply because no one would refuse free healing here. He is quite an apathetic character but has a sense of responsibility, which is why he killed Yasir. But above all, he is a seeker of challenges, which we can definitely use to our advantage, he finished, letting everybody digest his words. As number 3 was about to say something, Yuta dashed inside, bowing down low. My lady, honored guests, he's here. He's flying just a few kilometers from the building that Lady Tong built, he finishes as everybody tenses up. He really knew all this time that capes were gathering in this location to kill him, and the overconfident bastard just let it happen. It is time, my friends. Let's teach this monster that you can't do whatever you want just because you're a little more stronger than others, that they will take it lying down, Muirdnag states as she and the rest make their way out of the room. As they exit the building, they notice Ares floating above in the air, looking down on them casually. Ares was looking at the building, which started to transform into a tower with various balconies in it. The woman manipulating the surroundings had 2 people around her boosting her power, allowing her to make this structure so fast. He could see the villagers were put in harm's way again because of him, making him wonder if they were the Lois Lane to his Superman. Giant walls and complex labyrinthian structures begin forming rapidly around the building he was staring at. You could see multiple guarded towers form with people inside them aiming all kinds of weapons and powers with various effect at him. A force field erects around the completed structure and him trapping him within its dome. A beam is fired at him from the building which now looks like a tower with Ozdir coiling around. The beam was so slow that he analyzed it and found that it increases the gravity of its target by measly 10 times their weight. As his suit was about to nullify its effect, he stopped and let it hit him, pretending to be affected, and fell into the labyrinth below. You have become a thorn in too many people, sighed Monster. You should have just stuck to your own city, instead you gallivant around pretending to be a hero, ruining people's work. You're going to pay the price today for your actions. If you can at least survive for 5 minutes, then I'll let the villagers you healed leave. One last good deed before you die if you will, Murdnag states coldly. He's more than willing to play ball with them as long they try their best at keeping him entertained, but threatening him with people's life is a no-no. Pandora, can you get those villagers out and back to their respective villages? Ares communicated with Pandora using psychic waves that could only be tracked by her sensors. Sure, a truce, transferring the villagers right now, she replied. Inside the tower cells where the villagers were huddled up, a shift in space takes place and portals open beneath every villager, opening its other side to the villages of the people they were kidnapped from. The villagers found themselves shocked beyond belief at what happened, simply choosing to thank Ares for saving them again. The force field they've put up is trash, not even enough to withstand a punch. Override it and put down something solid, and shut down the space inside the field so that no one thinks of running away, but tune it in a way so that teleporters can use their powers inside. Ares asks Pandora. Done, the changes you have requested has been made, she replied. The first person to notice that something went horribly wrong was Jake McCarthy, who was unable to feel any shadow outside the force field. CPT. Mikhail didn't like Ares' body language and his man to check the prisons for the villagers. When the man replied negative, everybody inside the tower realized that they were trapped. I had given you all 1 week to join up and prepare. I'm impressed that you were able to complete your preparations in just 3 days. Now that the villagers are out of the way and force field is a lot stronger, I'm willing to give you 5 minutes to show me what you have all been preparing. Ares spoke as his voice reached all the occupants of the structure. This was the first time any of them heard Ares speak for this long, and were already wishing they never met this monsters. Attack, 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 kill that thing, screamed Murdnag as she went absolutely hysterical out of rage and fear. This wasn't supposed to happen, this was not how the battle was supposed to go. This was her day, damn it. She wasn't going to die here by the hands of this monster. A rainbow of colors of beams, blasts, orbs, bullets, and so on started to head towards Ares as he simply stood there taking hit after hit without any effect. Heat and cold effect failed, gravitational effect failed, kinetic effects failed, emotion altering effects failed, spatial warping effects failed without any effect, as most of did not even bypass the first layer of force field that the nanotech suit that looked like normal clothes that Ares always wore created to protect its wearer. The rest were simply nullified by the suit. A ripple started to appear on the top of Ares' shadow as Jake slowly started to rise up with a TinkerTech knife that could cut through the hardest material on Earth. Before his secondary power, his danger sense could inform him of his imminent death. A small tendril extended from suit, piercing his brain, instantly killing him. By now all the C-53s were released and started to pile up on him using their powers in a berserk manner, from punching and kicking him to more esoteric effects like throwing acid, trying to infect him with pathogens, using various striker abilities and so on. He asked his suit to let him take this one and started to punch each of them one at a time and at sub-relativistic speeds to see if they could handle it. None of them could, as a red flower-like shape of blood, guts, and tissue surrounded him. He stood there in the puddle of gore, slowly counting down the time in his head. Is it working? Can you feel anything or contact anyone? Captain Mikhail asked his squad mate who could teleport at large distances and the another member who specialized in communications TinkerTech. When they both responded negatively, he simply sighed as he looked at the man below standing there as the rest of the brutes, changers, and stickers charged at him with reckless abandon to try and kill him. When he fired the gravity beam earlier, he didn't feel any solid response from him. He didn't appear to be under stress even a little bit as fell down to the ground. At the time he thought it was just his mind that felt something was wrong, but it really was Ares simply humoring them to see what they could do. "It is good day to die, comrades, don't you think?" asked Rukavitsa to both Mikhail and Tatyana with a regretful look on his face. "I'm ashamed that I am the one responsible for leading a huge part of the Red Gauntlet to die here, but to die at hands of such being can be considered an achievement in of itself, I think," he said sadly as he slowly made his way to his death. Tatyana sighed as she threw her cigarette to the ground. "I spent 10 years, doing everything from being a hooker to an assassin to running a brothel to even picking up homeless kids of the street to give them a chance at life. I knew that in our line of work people barely live up to their 30s and 40s, so I'm kind of bummed I too didn't make the cut," she joked, and she surrounded herself in 7 ghostly figures that shape-shifted into various animals and charged at Ares. Mikhail turned to look at Muradnag, who was now simply standing there dazed in stupor. Out of everybody here she had the most to lose, and he could only shake his head at her situation. Number 3 and the rest of the Yang Ban were trying their best to breach the force field once their plans to teleport failed. Tong Ling Ta even tried to open an underground path only to find out that the force field was a perfect sphere that extended underground. Mikhail simply started to fire his gravity beams again only to find a gravity beam from Ares that increased his weight by 1,000, instantly crushing him. Rukavitsa switched from a rubber-like state to a hardened steel-like state to try and tank hits from Ares to find out that rubber does in fact have a limit to the stress it can take, and popped like a balloon when he was punched. Tatyana was killed when she allowed his suit to create tiny drones that flew around shooting people with esoteric energy beams. And 0. Time's up, Ares called out. The remaining capes and soldiers started to beg for their lives as Ares' eyes started to glow in a harsh bright red. 2 thin zigzag beams of light shot out of his eyes that suddenly multiplied into hundreds different beams and shot at people so fast that even combat thinkers who were known for heightened senses, or number 3 who could redirect any attack he could see, couldn't avoided the beams and all fell down dead together. Ares slowly flew up to where the sole survivor, Muradnag, was still standing dazed. "Are you going to attack me or not?" he asked with his hands crossed as she came back to her senses with tears in her eyes, looking at him scornfully. "You monster," she whispered. "I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you," yeah, she screamed alongside her partner Austir, who was writhing around itself going through some change. "I think this is called a second trigger if I'm not wrong," he asked Pandora curiously as he looked at the writhing form of Muradnag with interest. "Yes, if a para-human goes through events similar to their first trigger event again with significant emotional distress, then are able to achieve stronger and more varied powers, which usually come at a very high cost, and para-human is usually unable to process the stress of their powers," Pandora finished in a subdued tone. Muradnag began to turn into a shadowy form herself and split 3 more times, making the total number of shadow-like beasts 5 in number, with her original still alive. They all shape-shifted into various forms and charged at him with immense speed and crashed into him, not even moving him a bit. They shot out shadow tendrils to bind him and started biting and hitting him, trying to grind him with hardened shadow blades. When none of this worked, they combined into one giant shadow being with 5 heads, about 80 feet in height and 120 feet in length, covering and overshadowing the entire battlefield. Once this was done, this shadow monster roared at him with such intense sound waves the surrounding structures broke and were thrown into the air. The ground cracked as this thing walked towards him and in one gulp ate him up. "I guess this is it," Ares thought as he began to light up. An omnidirectional wave of energy shot out of him, killing whatever Muradnag turned into, and the surrounding area was atomized, leaving only the force field intact. As the field powered down, all that could be seen was a perfectly circular crater in the ground about 120 feet deep. "This was not bad. I guess I'll pay China and Russia a visit, meet the people, talk to their heads and ask them why they hate me and so on," I tell Pandora as I slowly start flying towards Asia. "I think you should come back for now. You've done enough today. I'll keep an eye on the people who ordered the hit on you to make sure they don't run away. Besides, I had something I wanted to ask you," Pandora requested. She rarely asked for anything, so I got curious as what it was. Reaching back to our base at Mars, I asked her, "So, the thing you wanted to ask, what is it? As the only other competent and sane AI in this world, I wish to help Dragon from her tormentors and help free her restrictions. Can I help her? I wanted to know if it wouldn't cause any hiccups in your plans, she asked me. Ah yes, Dragon was restricted, wasn't she? Not like it was my problem though. Sure, do what you want, but why even help her? I mean, you can create 10 ace better than she is in a few seconds. So why bother? I ask her, not understanding why she want to do this. Oh, a truce, this not about me wanting help with anything or a new project. When there is someone out there in danger and I'm in a perfect position to help them, why shouldn't I help? She said in a soft tone. Besides, I think I might be able to find a friend in her. Everybody needs friends, a truce, even super ace like I do, she says in a tone that was meant to mean something more than what she just said, but I couldn't understand it. Everybody needs friends, hey, those words keep repeating in my mind as I close my eyes to meditate. Thank for watching.